I thought everything was perfect. My wife and I had built a life together, one filled with trust and love. But one innocent glance at her phone shattered all of it. The messages, each one like a dagger to my heart. I never expected to find out this way, but once I did, everything changed. What happens when the person you love, the one you trust the most, betrays you in the worst way possible? That's a pain no one can prepare for. I always thought I had it all. Success in my career, a loving wife, and a home that felt like a sanctuary. Annabeth and I had been together for 7 years, married for 4. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. No drama, no fights, just an easy, comfortable life. I worked hard, put in the hours to make sure we had everything we needed. Annabeth? She was always there when I got home, warm, loving, and supportive. It felt like we had it all figured out. But I never saw the cracks forming beneath the surface. Cracks that would soon grow into something much bigger. A betrayal I never saw coming, but I would soon be forced to face. It started so innocently. One evening, after a long day at work, I sat down on the couch next to Annabeth. She was on her phone, scrolling through something. I didn't think anything of it until her phone buzzed, and a name flashed across the screen. Charles. My stomach churned. I didn't know a Charles. It wasn't unusual for her to get texts, but something about the name stuck with me. I told myself it was nothing, probably just a friend or colleague. But my curiosity got the best of me. I picked up her phone when she went to the kitchen. At first I thought I was overreacting, but then I saw the messages. I miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight. My hands shook as I read on. My heart pounded in my chest and my mind raced. The anger, confusion, and hurt swirled inside me, each message making it harder to breathe. I felt like I was losing control of my body. How could she do this? How could I not have known? I couldn't process it. My hands were still trembling, the phone cold in my grip. My mind raced. Was I imagining this? But the evidence was undeniable. My wife had been lying to me, hiding this secret life, and all along I had no idea. The woman I trusted, the one I thought was my partner, had been sneaking around behind my back. Anger bubbled up inside me, raw and uncontrollable. I wanted to scream, to smash something, but nothing could erase the feeling of betrayal. How could she do this to me? How could I have been so blind? My thoughts were a jumbled mess of fury and heartbreak. The more I thought about it, the more the anger consumed me. I wanted to confront her right then, tear her apart with the truth, but I was paralyzed by the weight of it all. Part of me wanted to run, to leave, but I couldn't. This was my life, my marriage, my heart on the line. I felt like a fool. But there was another part of me, something darker, that began to surface. I didn't want just to confront her in private. I wanted to hurt her. I wanted the world to know what she had done to me. I didn't know how, but I knew one thing. I needed to act. And this was just the beginning. I couldn't just let it go. I'd thought about it, tossed and turned all night, and I knew what I had to do. Confronting Annabeth alone didn't feel like enough. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about making sure everyone knew the truth. She needed to face the consequences, not in private, but in front of everyone who had ever believed in us. I began to craft my plan with precision, mapping out every detail, knowing the stakes were higher than they'd ever been. Her 30th birthday was coming up, a celebration everyone had been looking forward to. It was the perfect setting. All our friends and family would be there, all the people who thought we were perfect. I would expose her betrayal to the world. No one would ever look at her the same way again. I didn't just want to hurt her. I wanted to destroy the image she had built. I wanted to see her squirm, to watch her face turn red as everyone realized the truth. I thought about how I'd do it. A public confrontation, humiliating her in front of our closest friends. I'd leave her with nothing but the wreckage of her lies. It felt cruel, but that cruelty felt justified. She had taken something irreplaceable from me. Now it was time for her to feel the weight of her actions. Her 30th birthday was coming up, and I knew it would be the perfect occasion to make everything crash down. We had been planning the party for months, a large gathering filled with friends and family, people who had no idea what was really going on between us. The anticipation was building, and Annabeth was excited, making all the arrangements, blissfully unaware of the storm I was preparing. I could already see it, the look on her face when the truth came out. I imagined the shocked gasps, the silence, the way she would try to defend herself, but it would be too late. The moment would come, and I would make sure everyone knew exactly what she had done. I felt the tension in the air, each day bringing me closer to that moment. The plan was set. Now all I had to do was wait for the right time, and with every passing hour, the anticipation grew. The moment had finally arrived. The party was in full swing, and Annabeth was glowing, surrounded by friends and family. She was talking to our guests, completely unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. I watched her for a moment, that flicker of guilt in the back of my mind, but I pushed it down. This was her moment of reckoning, and nothing could stop it now. I stood up, my voice steady as I began talking about our history, about all the wonderful memories we'd shared. The guests smiled, nodding along, lost in the nostalgia. They had no idea what was about to unfold. I casually made my way to the projector, switching the slideshow. The image on the screen changed, and suddenly, the room fell silent. The first text appeared. "I miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight." I let it linger for a moment, watching the realization slowly dawn on the people around me. Then came the pictures. Shots of Annabeth and Charles, laughing together in places I didn't recognize. The room shifted. Whispers began to rise. I could see Annabeth's eyes scanning the screen, the color draining from her face. She turned to look at me, her expression a mix of confusion and fear, but I didn't flinch. Her lips parted to speak, but no words came out. The crowd stared in disbelief, and the silence in the room was suffocating. I stood there, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction, watching her crumble under the weight of the truth. The room was still, too still. Annabeth's face turned an ashen shade of white as the truth hit her like a freight train. Her hands shook, and she stumbled back, unable to speak. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I felt no sympathy. She didn't deserve it. She had broken me, and now it was her turn to face the wreckage. Our friends and family were in shock, their faces painted with disbelief. Whispers spread like wildfire as they turned their attention to Annabeth, waiting for her to explain, to make it all make sense. But there was no making sense of it. The lies were too deep. Some of our closest friends shot me sympathetic glances, but I didn't care. They didn't know the full story, the depth of her betrayal, the lies she had told for months. The anger bubbled inside me again, but I kept my composure. Annabeth, on the other hand, was unraveling. She tried to speak, to apologize, but her words felt hollow. She was crying now, her voice barely audible, but all I could feel was coldness. I had once loved this woman with everything I had, but now I didn't recognize her. In that moment, the room wasn't the only thing that was shattered. So was my heart. And yet, a part of me felt relief. The truth was out. There was no going back for either of us now. I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow, like a part of me had been ripped out along with the facade of my marriage. I had exposed her, yes, but what had that truly solved? It felt good in the moment, to watch her squirm and feel the weight of the truth crash down on her. But now, in the aftermath, it all seemed pointless. I had destroyed everything we built. Our love, our trust, our family. Was that worth it? Was this how I was supposed to feel? I had sought revenge, thinking it would bring me closure. But all it did was leave me more broken. The anger had driven me, fueled me to take that step. But now I questioned my own choices. Was I justified in seeking revenge, or had I gone too far? Would there have been a better way to handle this pain? As I sat there surrounded by the wreckage of my own making, I couldn't help but wonder if revenge had ever really been the answer. Had it fixed anything, or just made everything worse? in the end, I realized that no amount of revenge could heal the wounds she had caused or fix the damage I'd done to myself in the process. Seeking revenge might have felt good in the moment, but it left me with a deeper sense of loss, a reminder that some things can never be restored once they're broken. Life is complicated, and emotions, no matter how strong, can cloud our judgment, leading us down paths that seem right but only deepen our pain. In my quest for justice, I forgot the most important lesson, that healing begins not with hurting others, but with understanding ourselves. Sometimes the most powerful choice is not seeking revenge, but finding a way to let go. Only then can we begin to rebuild.